You're still watching the daily debate, and once again we're speaking about the importance of the participation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the G7 summit with my dear guest for tonight, the senior former assistant foreign minister, Ambassador Rao'f Saad. Once again we're speaking about the importance of the G7, the difference between the G7 and the G20 being having developed as well as developing nations, but the G7 is more about the more industrialized nations, with some invitations for Brazil, Egypt, India and the United Arab Emirates. But for today, and speaking, we've mentioned that other topics will be on the agenda of talks, like Gaza, for example, like Ukraine, the Russian-Ukrainian conflict,
Absolutely.
and the recent memorandum of understanding that was signed or will be signed, that was reached in terms of an agreement between the US and Iran. How do you see the role of Egypt in all of these?
The role, I mean, it's a full agenda, all right, and each part of it, you know, Egypt has a role. Of course, there is more direct major contribution, like let's take the case for Gaza,
yes.
all right? Egypt is, I think the history will prove, you know, that Egypt was the only country that could govern the crisis of Gaza war individually. Without that, does not conflict of having supports of others, but there is no other country in the region can undertake this kind of obligation and the governance of the crisis like Egypt.
Yes.
So I think the major message or mission or decision that should come, that, you know, to counter the destruction efforts by Netanyahu, and that's why Egypt, you know, if we are following the kind of efforts every other day, there is a statement coming, drawing the attention, let's not get distracted, and I think the efforts are being relentlessly performed by Egypt in order to take a decision, a global decision, that time has come, that all this kind attacks and crimes being taking place has to stop, and then we'll have to start in the second stage of Trump's plan.
Yes.
I think we should not fall in the trap by many people who are whatever you want, but let's not criticize plans, Mr. Trump's plan.
Yes.
It's full of shortcomings. We know that. But let's be politically pragmatic and wise, you know, because with this plan we were able to move from Gaza to Sharm el-Sheikh. So this is one. Ukraine, I think the world has been suffering in one go from the problems in Gaza. Iran, Ukraine, and all parties are losers, including the whole world.
Yes.
So, and what's the very special importance of the G7? Even more than G20, because it's coming before the G20. And it's the first, as I was saying, international, important, heavy gathering, you know, after the memo. And at the time that there are efforts in order to start the second phase of Trump's plan.
Yes.
And the efforts here and there between Ukraine and Russia. Well, I was ambassador in Russia, and I served even in Russia, Soviet Union, and Russia. I mean, in Moscow, Soviet Union, and Moscow, Russia.
Yes.
In both cases, the cases of Iran and Iran, I think the basic items of the agreement are ready. All what we have been suffering for in Iran, for example, was how each party wants to design the conclusion in order to go back to his constituency to claim victory.
Yes.
Right? They are all losers. We are all losers. And the same like Ukraine. I mean, I don't want to get into that.
Yes.
But the challenges, you know, for the G7 and their participating countries is heavy in the sense of the responsibility that they have to take concrete decisions to rescue not the Middle East, not the United States, not Ukraine, or not to rescue the world economy. And you know, the deterioration of the world economy is combined with very other serious threats,
yes.
like climate change, for example. I mean, with the kind of energy problem, all right, then there is a wave in order to get the energy, fossil oils, so on and so forth, while the climate change crises are aggravating and becoming threatening to every and each country, developed or developed or everywhere.
Yes.
So it's the package is full, but sometimes it's only the crises that would lead to the solutions. So I think the kind of pressure, and let's not talk about, you know, donors and recipients. Let's not talk about developed and developing. Now we are talking about globalized world. They are claiming that there is a deglobalization. All right,
Yes.
deglobalization because there is a price, good price that the developed countries and multinationals paid, because, you know, those on the recipient end were able to benefit. All right, so that's why. But now the globalized world and the interdependence and interlinkages between developed and the developing countries has put the whole world maybe in an unprecedented manner, that in facing a crisis that where you cannot distinguish between who is the loser and the winner. Because, and the world economy, with the problem supply chains, with the climate, waterways. Look at in the Middle East. I mean, if you look, as I said, you know,
Yes.
you have all the major, you know, and Suez Canal, the quarter of the world trade of the United States passed through the Suez Canal.
Yes.
So I think this is, I would take it positively, because that would make the responsibility clear. There is no time or place for distinction between who is who. We are all one who. And I think that could be a good start for the world. I don't want to be in a wishful thinking way, but I strongly believe that, you know, no war can continue forever, all right? But you know, if you look at the history, the World War led to the League of Nations.
Yes.
The World War II led to the United Nations. Now we are in a different kind of war. That's a third war. So we are heading to a new international situation with different prescription. There is no qualification. I mean, you have, I mean, what kind of system? But I think that one of the exit strategies that would come out of the crisis, the growing importance of regional and intra-regional.
And speaking about the new systems, the new orders that will be applied for the globe, I would like to comment on the arrival of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to the city of Evian and a meeting with the French officials ahead of participating in the G7 summit, of course, that will be taking place from today, the 15th of June, and until the 17th of June. How do you see, and finally, because we have about 3 or 4 minutes remaining, this is the arrival of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to the city of Evian, and as we can see on the screen right now, and the reception being given to President al-Sisi. On the other hand, we have seen another reception given from President al-Sisi to the French President in Burj Al Arab in Alexandria to be inaugurating the Senghor University there. How do you see the bilateral ties between Egypt and France, and the importance of maintaining the quality of those bilateral ties?
Well, it's a product of a chemistry and political understanding and appreciation between two presidents.
Yes.
And you know, the Macron has been showing a lot of extra respect for the person and for the performance of the person. And you know, when he was here, not only, you know, he celebrated the inauguration of Senghor University,
yes,
but of course that would very much support of the French culture, all right? But more important, that we went together with President Sisi to Nairobi.
Yes.
That is a
the
move
Africa Forward Summit.
Yes.
Yes.
And that means for France moving from west of Africa, where he is a loser, to east of Africa. And you know,
although Kenya is not a French-speaking country.
Of course,
It
that's
is an English-speaking country.
Yeah, of course, but that's the political transition, all right? And he, of course, he benefited a lot from having President Sisi with him, you know, and the same summit.
Yes.
And President Sisi is supporting Africa no matter who. I mean, he thinks in a very pragmatic manner. He doesn't yield to slogans, whatever. But in Evian, President Macron, he learned even more. The more you stay on person,
yes,
with your counterpart, you learn more about his wisdom, his political way of thinking. So he is in need. In fact, it's not just a nice gesture in order to invite the president, but he needs, you know, because he needs a strong president, a wise president, a clear ideas of a president knows where are the objectives and where is the road that would lead to affecting this conclusion. Take into consideration that the President Sisi is not, he's thinking very much in the internal situation in Egypt, of course, but he knows that there is no hope or chance for the Middle East to progress unless there is stability, and there is no stability without the Palestinian cause. And so the way Egypt is looking at the composition of the different parts of the situation would reflect very much on the way you think internationally.
Yes.
And, you know, being, you know, on the Suez Canal, on Red Sea, on Africa, in the Arab world, on the Gulf.
The whole picture.
Yeah, the whole picture is within two hands. God bless him, you know, and we feel for him because he's under tremendous pressure. But nevertheless, I think I mean, as Egyptians, it's not only that you are proud of the president, but look around. A country with 110 million people living in peace, surrounded by fires everywhere.
And plus the guests who are coming from different neighboring countries like Sudan and several other countries.
Fire
like Iraq
everywhere.
and Syria.
You have 1,200 kilometers on 3 parts of the country, all right? But still, we are in control. We lead a productive life. We have difficulties. We suffer from many problems like anybody. But what is happening if you ask me how do you assess the situation, I'll tell you something. Are there mistakes? Yes, we have mistakes, but we have no sins. There is a difference. أخطاء وليس خطايا. There is a difference.
Yes, Ambassador Rao'f Saad, the senior former assistant foreign minister, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
You are very welcome. Thank you for you.
Anytime. And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.